Have you ever had one of those weeks where life suddenly throws something unexpected at you and your entire business feels like it's on the wobble? You have? This video is for you. Maybe a child gets ill. Maybe a parent needs support. Maybe something breaks. Maybe life simply becomes more complicated than usual. And suddenly, all of those carefully planned business tasks feel impossible to keep on top of. Now, what I've noticed over the years is that many business owners assume this means that they're disorganized or that they need to get up earlier to fit everything in. Maybe they think they lack discipline, they're just not managing their time properly. But I don't think that's the real problem. I think the problem we're facing here is that many business owners are far more, or many businesses, I should say, are far more dependent on their owners than people realize. And that's a very different issue. Because if your business only works when you're available, focused, and operating at full capacity, then every unexpected bump in the road or event becomes a threat to your business. Every interruption feels expensive. Every change of plan creates extra stress. Every family responsibility feels like it's competing with your business. And that is exhausting, especially for women, because most of the women I speak to aren't just running a business. They're running households, managing children, supporting family members, remembering appointments, organizing life, making hundreds of invisible decisions every day of the week. The business isn't the only thing they're carrying. And yet, most business advice still assumes that you're operating in some kind of vacuum, as though your life revolves entirely around your work, as though you can simply wake up every morning and dedicate uninterrupted hours to growing your business. But for most people, that is not what reality looks like. Real life is messy. Real life is unpredictable. Real life interrupts. The question isn't whether life will get busy. It always does. The question is whether your business can cope when that happens. And I think that's where systems become incredibly important. Not because systems are exciting. Let's be honest, they're usually not. Nobody wakes up thinking, I can't wait to create a process today. At least nobody in my social circle thinks that. But systems create something far more valuable for us. They create resilience. A resilient business doesn't panic every time something unexpected happens. A resilient business doesn't require you to be constantly firefighting. A resilient business can continue moving even when life temporarily shifts your attention somewhere else. And that's a completely different experience from constantly feeling like you're chasing and you're always falling behind. One of the biggest shifts I see with clients is when they stop viewing systems as productivity tools and start viewing them as protection. That's protection for their time, their energy, their focus, protection for their family life, because ultimately, those are the things we're doing this for. That's what we're trying to create. A business that supports life, not consumes it. And I think this is where boundaries often get misunderstood. People talk about boundaries as though they're purely personal decisions. Just say no. Protect your time. Don't answer messages after 5 p.m. And whilst those things can help, they're not enough on their own. Because if your entire business still depends on you remembering everything, responding to everything, and managing everything, then eventually those boundaries are going to become difficult for you to maintain. A stronger solution is creating systems that support your boundaries automatically. Systems don't forget. A system doesn't get tired, it doesn't feel guilty, it simply does what it's designed to do. And that's why I believe good systems are one of the most underrated forms of self-care available to business owners right now. Not because they remove the work entirely, but because they reduce your mental workload. And mental workload is often the real problem. Most business owners aren't exhausted by one big thing. They're exhausted by the hundreds and hundreds of small things that are buzzing around in the background. That's the messages, the follow-ups, the reminders, the decisions, the tasks, the constant switching between responsibilities. It's the invisible workload that creates fatigue, not necessarily the visible one. Which brings me to another interesting observation. Many people assume they need more visibility, and sometimes they do. But often what they actually need is better systems around their visibility, because visibility without follow-up is not particularly useful. Visibility without connection is not very useful either. And visibility without conversations isn't going to grow your business, which is one of the reasons why we created Connection Scout. You see, Connection Scout isn't about chasing attention. It's about helping business owners identify better fit opportunities and better fit conversations without spending hours doing the research themselves. Because the goal isn't simply do more. The goal is to make better use of your limited time and energy. And I think that's the conversation we need to be having more often. Not how to squeeze more work into our already busy lives, but how to create businesses that feel lighter, calmer, and more sustainable. Businesses that can absorb real life without everything falling apart. Because life will always happen. Unexpected things will always pop up. The question is whether your business is designed to cope with them. And if not, well, perhaps this is a good place to start. Not more hustle and pressure, better support is what we need. Now, if this resonates with you and you'd like to see how Connection Scout works, send me the word Scout. I'll show you exactly what it does, who it's for, what it costs, and whether it's the right fit for your business. And if this topic interests you, I have got a full series on calm AI systems for business. You can probably watch the next video in the series. It'll be coming up in just a moment.